FDIC and the Deposit Insurance Fund, DIF, and weaving through tariffs, layoffs, and the shaping tides of global wind power. Let's break them down. The FDIC and the Deposit Insurance Fund. First, let's talk about the FDIC. The Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation has a crucial role in protecting depositors. The FDIC was created in 1933 to restore confidence in the American banking system during the Great Depression. One of the most important functions is managing the Deposit Insurance Fund, which insures deposits that participate in banks for up to $250,000 per depositor per insured bank. But they do have funds, but do they have funds to back up the pledge? So exactly what is the DIF? It's essentially a pool of money that the FDIC uses to reimburse depositors in the event of a bank failure. This fund ensures that in times of financial instability, people don't lose their hard-earned savings, providing much-needed trust in our financial system. But do their efforts preserve your purchasing power? As we see global uncertainties and a tight economy, the DIF's role becomes more vital than ever. Recent increases in interest rates have put some pressure on banks, and the FDIC has been making moves to bolster this fund to maintain stability. It's a safeguard for the individual, but also an essential part of preserving the broader trust in our economic framework. The Deposit Insurance Fund balance increased by $3.9 billion to $133.1 billion. The rise in the DIF was primarily driven by assessment income of $3.3 billion. Interest earned on securities, negative provisions, and unrealized gains on securities added a combined $1.2 billion to the fund during the quarter. These gains were partially offset by operating expenses of $0.6 billion. No institutions failed during the third quarter. The DIF's reserve ratio was, this is what I want you to focus on, 1.25%, which means that if 1.25 or 1.26% of the people want their money back, guess what? It isn't there. And that's what I've been showing you here. I've done the math on the US on the buy board over here and showing you from the US debt clock, there's less than 3% of the money that's out there to be claimed against your liabilities, meaning that if you have money that's in a bank account, an annuity statement, your house or whatever, it's all part of that 700 some trillion dollars, backed up by only $21 trillion that's in the M2 money supply. So who's responsible for the DIF? The Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation is responsible for managing the DIF, which protects deposits at a member banks and helps resolve failed banks. Here's a more detailed explanation. The FDIC's role is an independent agency created by Congress to maintain stability and public confidence in the nation's financial system. The DIF function, the Deposit Insurance Fund functions, ensures deposits and protect depositors of FDIC insured banks and helps fund the FDIC's activities when banks fail. Who wrote that? Wasn't a realist. Funded by assessments, the DIF is primarily funded through quarterly assessments on insured institutions. Well, hold it now. That means that the insurance institutions are paying insurance premiums for liabilities that the Federal Reserve can't, or excuse me, the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation can't insure. That means like you're paying insurance premiums on a life insurance policy, say for $100,000, but the insurance company only has a couple of bucks to its name. Yet you're continuing to pay the premiums. I asked my friend to tie up inside the FDIC about this. He said, "Yeah, Ted, there's no money here." The FDIC manages a DIF to maintain public confidence in financial systems to resolve failed banks. The FDIC provides deposit insurance to protect your money in the event of a bank failure, which deposits insured up to $150,000 at each FDIC insured bank. My dad had money in Old Court Savings and Loan, and it was insured, but you know how long it took him to get his money out? Wow, years. Oopsie, too late. El Salvador president mocks Judge Wolfenberg after flights land with several hundred Venezuelan gang members deported by President Trump. Hang on, it's going to get fun here. Watch. President of El Salvador, Nayib Bukele, mocked U.S. District Judge James Borseberg after two flights from the U.S. carrying nearly 250 to 300 Venezuelans and other gang members landed in El Salvador despite Borseberg's emergency order issued Saturday evening in a case brought by the ACLU to turn the planes around and return the gang members to the U.S. According to the U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, a few MS-13 gang members and most wanted fugitives were among the over 250 Tren de Aragua Venezuelan gang members deported after President Trump invoked the 1798 Alien Enemies Act. And today, the first of 238 members of the Venezuelan criminal organization Tren de Aragua arrived in our country. They were immediately transferred to CICOT, the Terrorism Confinement Center, for a period of 1 year, renewable. The United States will pay a very low fee for them, but a high one for us. Over time, these actions, combined with the production already being generated by more than 40,000 inmates engaged in various workshops and labor under the Zero Idleness program, will help make our prison system self-sustainable. As of today, it costs $200 million per year. Joe gave the unselect committee on political thugs and many others are hereby declared void, vacant, and of no further force or effect because of the fact that they were done by auto pen. In other words, Joe Biden did not sign them, but more importantly, he did not know anything about them. The necessary pardoning documents were not explained to or approved by Biden. He knew nothing about them, and the people that did may have committed a crime. Therefore, those on the unselect committee who destroyed and deleted all evidence obtained during their 2-year witch hunt of me and many other innocent people should fully understand that they are subject to investigation at the highest level. The fact is, they were probably responsible for the documents that were signed on their behalf without the knowledge or consent of the worst president in history of our country, crooked Joe Biden. Second, Biden auto pen discovery. Look at this. One wasn't enough. Now we got 2 auto pens. The Biden auto pen scandal is growing by the day. The second Biden auto pen has been discovered by the Oversight Project. The Oversight Project discovered that there's a second frequently used auto pen signature for Joe Biden's pardons and commutations. Auto pen A and auto pen B have slight differences in the signatures. Why would you do that? Guess too many things to sign, huh? And I guess since the auto pen was handling all those documents and everything, who was the real president? I guess the auto pen was. Listen to this. $1 trillion has no worth or meaning. $1 trillion has no worth or meaning. You know what? It has worth or meaning to us because we're going to take it. We're going to put it in dimes. We're going to put it in coin of the realm. Listen to the words of Ben Bernanke. And if this doesn't scare the bejesus out of you, I don't know what is going to. It's time to dump the digits and get into the dimes. Watch.
I want you to watch this clip. This is from 08-09, okay? 09. Ben Bernanke is being asked about where a $500 billion of money went to. This was shared to me by Brandon. Play this clip here and watch the way he answers and just watch his body language and tell me if you believe him.
What's
Go
his
ahead,
job title? But Pat, what was he back then?
Chairman of the Fed.
The Fed. He was the head of the Fed.
No, this guy was like the previous
Alan
Jerome Powell.
Greenspan.
The younger people. Well, the younger people that look at it.
Play this clip. Go for it.
Who got the money?
To financial institutions in Europe and other countries?
Which ones?
I don't know.
$500 billion.
$500 billion, and you don't know who got the money?
The loan went to the loans go to the central banks, and they then put them out to their institutions to try to bring down short-term interest rates in dollar markets around the world.
Well, let's start with which central banks got the money.
There are 14 of them, which are listed I'm sure they're listed in here somewhere.
All right. So
Okay.
who actually made that decision to hand out $1 trillion that way? $500 billion. Who made that decision?
The Federal Open Market Committee.
Okay. And was it done at one time or in a series of
A
meetings?
series of meetings.
And under what legal authority?
We have a long-standing legal authority to do swaps with other central banks.
Do you
It's
happen to know
it's not an emergency authority of any kind.
anything specific about it?
Yes, his lawyer.
Do you know the...
Anybody?
My counsel says Section 14 of the Federal Reserve Act.
And Trump administration just moved IRS attorney that that prevented Doge from gaining access needs to be arrested for obstruction. What you want is ultimate fungibility. A dime in everybody's pocket is going to do the same thing around the globe. But this bar of silver that we have here, we don't know whether or not it's real. We don't know what it actually weighs. There's no stamp on it as far as authenticity. Nobody's guaranteeing the pureness of it. Folks, what you're looking at is not coin of the realm. Let's stick with the coin of the realm. Now, pretty soon, the dimes are going to be gone. You're going to be left with just the quarters, and we'll do the best job we can with the quarters. But now you're going to find out that they're charging you more for the $1,000, which has even less divisibility than the dimes. So you get 14 transactions out of 1 ounce of silver with using the dimes. But if you're using other currencies like that, as long as it adds up to $1.40, that equals 1 ounce. So you're going to want the smallest denominations in order to break up and divide your purchase as small as possible when the value of silver jumps up to just kicks and grins over 30,000 an ounce. Yes, I did the math on this. You have to take, which most people are missing out on. You have to figure out how much an ounce of silver is actually going to cost. You have to consider how many euro dollars are out there, how many petrodollars are out there, how many US dollars are out there, how many derivatives and synthetic derivatives. It's all those numbers need to be added up and divided against the finite number of silver, which gets you that $217,000 an ounce for silver.